It is the Paul Breakfast Show full casting this morning. We just heard from Paul Richards with our news brief. We'll have major news coming up at 7 with AV. We'll hear from Wendell Stephen, Richard Raghubarasingh. Ruben is in the background. My name is Steve Khan. We're going to keep you company until 9 o'clock this morning. Let's get straight into the WT. See what's happening. Got a little traffic by Chase Village and by Charlieville just before Monroe Road. You're going to get some volume towards the interchange. All right. I got one accident to tell you about. Yep. Let's see. I just saw it here. Where did it go? Okay, it's probably cleared up. It is probably cleared up. It is on Trinity Central Road. Okay. But you got traffic from Trin City towards UE, and then just from Aranguez towards El Scoro, just after El Scoro, heading into Port of Spain. Slow going from Swimcol into Port of Spain. Building up in Maraval, out of Mocha, for those coming out of Santa Cruz, nothing out of Dago. Eastern Main Road by Arima Old Road, you got a little pileup. But that's short-lived, and of course, going through Macoya, you've got some traffic. Let's see who sent us hellos. First thing this Monday morning, the 26th day of June. Good morning to you. First off the gate this morning, we've got Ray out in West Palm Beach, Florida. Good morning to you, Ray, followed by Trev in Arima. Got Cillian Valencia, Wendy Ann, DJ Ray out in Delaware. Maria Marva, Oliver Man Warren, Miss Ingrid out in Tucson, Arizona. Rena Boudou Jennings, Carol Guevara, Wagwan, D. Pierre, and Dennis. Good morning to you all as well. Hope you guys had a great weekend. It was a scorcher here in Trinidad and Tobago. Edwin Marshall, good morning to you as well. Joining us on YouTube, just like Ray is. Joining us on YouTube. Checking the temps. Yep, it's 25 degrees in our Twin Island Republic. Yep, it's 25. What the weather is going to be like for today? Let me just check here. Has it been updated for today? No, but yesterday it said today is going to be generally hot and sunny conditions despite one or two brief showers. There's a low 20% chance of isolated heavy afternoon showers and thunderstorms favoring Trinidad. Partly cloudy evening and night, and occasional showers, and a medium 60% chance of isolated thunderstorms. That's what they're saying for today. Maximum forecast temp. It's going to be a scorcher, just like the weekend. Yep, 33 at Piarco, 31 at Crown Point. All right, so that's our weather. Let's check some temps quickly before we move on. Toronto, cloudy at 19. Miami, same as here, mostly clear, and 25. Orlando, clear, 23. New York, mostly cloudy and 20 degrees. Atlanta, cloudy, 20. London, mostly cloudy and 21. Tampa, you're at 25. And Washington, D.C., you're a bit cloudy at 23 degrees. All right? So that's some temps. Let me say good morning, good night to Paul Richards. What's happening, my friend?
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Wendell.
Morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning, Wendell.
Am I being
heard? You're in St. James already.
Yes, I am. I didn't have a choice today. I'm actually doing radio from my office for the first time in a long time.
And you see that? You slept in town.
No, actually I didn't. I actually was on the road at 5 o'clock this morning. As I said, something I haven't done for a long time. But it's good to be out and about. Today's nomination day, of course, so that I have some responsibilities to fulfill today. So that's why I came into Port of Spain early. I didn't want to take any chances, But today is June 26th. It's actually City Day. It's actually the day that the civic rights was restored in the city of Port of Spain. And it's the birthday of 4 people whom I know very well, 4 very special people. One is my nephew, Dane Stephen. 2 is the acting mayor and former deputy mayor of the city of Port of Spain, Helen Morin.
Yeah.
3 is the former councillor for Woodbrook, June Durham. And 4 is Wendell Etienne, a former host with us on radio. They are all celebrating their birthdays today.
Happy birthday, Wendell.
Yeah. So, and anyone else celebrating the birthday on June 26th, have an absolutely fantastic day. It looks
Winston Ducaran's birthday was on Saturday.
Yes, Vincent Ducaran is June also too, yes. Yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. Who else is today? Richard Timal, Juman Lessie. He's a building inspector at the Port of Spain City Corporation. Daryl Duku, remember him? He a famous, a popular radio blog, social media blogger. Rene Douglas and Gregory Garcia. They're all celebrating birthdays today. I have to tell you something. 6 of these people, 6, 1, 2, 6, 6 of these people have one thing in common. They all have one thing in common.
But you?
Yeah. Where you want me to adjust it to, Paul?
That's better. Thank you.
It's better? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So have a great day, all. Today is nomination day. PNM, of course, would have had their convention and presentation of candidates yesterday. All 141 candidates. Only the PNM could do that. I'm telling you. And I know for sure that today those other parties will have problems because the amount of calls I got yesterday and over this weekend about parties, the UNC and the NTA soliciting candidates. I had someone who called me who actually got a call from somebody. He said that the person said they're representing the UNC, but the candidate they're looking for is an NTA candidate. I said, He said yes. And this was somebody who was screened by the PNM but was not selected. But he said he is going to be still helping out the PNM in the St. James area. He said, yeah, they called me yesterday. I said, well, brother man, I can't tell you what to do, but just know if you are a member of the PNM and you contest in an election against the PNM, you will no longer be a member of the PNM. I said, so that choice is yours. I can't tell you what to do if to go and contest an election for the next party. He said, no, he's not doing it. He just wanted to let me know what is happening. And this is yesterday, the day before nomination day. On Saturday, a relative of mine received a call. Now, my relative is he's a Christian. As a matter of fact, he pastors in the church he attends. He got a call from someone who wanted to get 6 signatures. And he wasn't sure what that was about. So he called me to inquire, what is this thing about 6 signatures? I say, well, any candidate that's going up for an electoral district requires the support and nomination of 6 people in the district that they seeking to represent. Those signatures are put on a form along with their copies of their ID card. Well, you must get their ID card anyway. And that is taken into the returning officer for your nomination process. In other words, you can't just pick up a candidate and anybody can't just walk into the EBC and say they want to contest an election. They must be nominated by 6 people in the district they wish to represent. So I tell him, I say, who it is? He said, it's a candidate for the UNC. They want to get 6 signatures. I say, well, it don't just work like that. I say, if the person living in the area and they want to be a candidate, first, they must know 6 people who live in the area. Why are they coming to you?
Well, as you said, they need 6 people who are willing to support them.
It's
different to just knowing 6 people.
Right. So you need 6 people who are willing to support your nomination. Now, these people are not obligated to vote for you. They're willing to support your nomination, which is what I explained to him, right? I say you don't have to vote for them, but you'll be on record as nominating them, right? He said, no, I'm not getting involved in that. I mean, everybody know my political allegiance. I mean, he is telling me that, but he didn't know why the person was calling him. And he said the person told him, listen, they don't have to be living in the area. I said, no, they have to be. I said, they have to be living in the area. They have to be on the list of electors for the district that the person is going to run for. That's how it works. He said, look, I'm glad I called you, yes. And I think he called back the person and said, look, don't bother me about this. I'm not interested. So, and that was another UNC candidate looking for nomination on Saturday. And the other one was yesterday, where they called somebody who was screened for the PNM to contest for them. So those are just my two examples. I'm sure there are several others that people can give, but those are my two personal examples that I wish to give as in terms of nomination day. There's a mad scramble, of course, by some of these political parties. I wish them luck.
But there was another resignation from the UNC camp over the weekend.
Yep. Former Councillor Safraz Ali.
Yes.
He was an executive member in the San Juan constituency, San Juan and St. Joseph, and he was a councillor for many years in the San Juan Lavatel Regional Corporation. He's sad enough. He said in a letter addressed to the political leader and chairman, stated that he had relinquished his roles with immediate effect after serving the party for 28 years. He said the party has over the years faced many defeats at all levels of politics, which was avoidable if the party had made different choices. However, that is done and dusted. Right? He said it is no longer the great party he joined and served, and I can no longer, with good conscience, remain in an entity that has lost its moorings of service to the people. So that was another resignation. Yeah. So you all have to forgive my background, yeah? It's a little busy. And I wish I could remember how to blur it, but I don't. So that picture there is me. That's a picture, a painting, somebody did of me in the radio station, Power 102 studio. If you notice, it's marked Power 102. And I'm actually in a Power 102 t-shirt, jersey. And with the newspapers in front of me and the microphone. That was a painting done by someone. He's now deceased. But he used to paint those big murals whenever you walk into the Queen's Park Savannah for Carnival. Then you used to see some big murals painted on the walls. But he was the one who painted those murals.
Speaking of deceased, it was a pretty dramatic weekend.
He lived in St. James. Junior Cragwell was his name.
A very popular and some would say infamous social media blogger was murdered in front of Trinity Mall on Saturday at about 5 o'clock.
Was it that late?
Yeah, it was about 5 o'clock. And ironically, I was in the mall at about 4:30 and left at about 4:30. I got there at 4:54 and left 4:30. And this Kevin Solomon, who was very well known on social media for all sorts of activities. Always pretty confrontational person. But he was murdered clearly in an orchestrated hit. Some of the reports indicate the assailant pumped 48 bullets or fired for as many as 48 bullets. Some reports are saying more, because when you look at the video of the car, and I won't play it because it's too graphic.
Yeah.
The video of the car and his body slumped in the car. And his jewelry was still on him. There was no attempt at robbery. It was clearly a hit. I mean, he had confrontations with people over the last year and a half, 2 years on social media. He was very, very outspoken, very opinionated, and some people very, very crass in some ways. But nobody deserves to die like that.
No,
matter what
because
you
he
think about
was
them.
clearly murdered. He was clearly assassinated.
Assassinated is a strong term.
Yeah, because they I mean, you could see it was not robbery.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really took over social media over the weekend. I mean, some people rejoicing sadly, a lot of people expressing sadness. I don't know. There's a particular blogger also, I think she's based in the US, who was popping champagne quite disgustingly.
What?
I think he had some beef with her in the past, and in her words, he attacked her children, and she found that reprehensible. But I don't know how you can rejoice even with that said at somebody's death. But I mean, that was the big social media brouhaha over the weekend. So
Yeah, condolences to his family. I think he featured his mom a few occasions. I would have looked at a few of his videos. I generally didn't because he didn't have cover for his mouth. But there were a few that I did look at, including one that I just shared with you all. Yeah, you can't play it because he always used obscene. One where he spoke about his death. He spoke about his death and what he wants them to do with his body. Yeah,
I actually think, given his demeanor, when I'm using that word very casually, on the social media blog, he must have gotten several threats.
Yeah, but he never spoke about them, though.
He never spoke publicly about receiving threats, but given his style and what he'd been known for, and this was, shocking to say the least.
Yeah, and he was supposed to have a boat ride yesterday, I think. So, which is
and the boat ride was cancelled because a lot of the tickets and monies for the boat ride was in the car. The police seized it all as evidence in a murder. So the boat ride was not able. I saw some people asking for refunds. Some people saying they don't care about it. His life was more important to them and stuff like that, which is admirable. So it was clearly a hit. And as I said, no matter what you think about somebody's utterances, nobody deserves to die like that. Nobody's life supposed to be taken away from them. And of course, it's against the law. Clearly, some murder.
Yeah.
So
I actually thought it was some kind of hoax,
No, I know. So I saw several different videos, and then I saw the forensics people in their white protective gear taking the body out of the car and removing the body from the scene. So I knew it was no hoax. So
it's sad.
Very, very sad.
And that's 5 o'clock on Saturday evening at a mall.
In the car park. He didn't even have a chance to leave the car or park the car. He was, and apparently he was on his way, according to one of the reports, which I am unable to confirm as accurate, to deliver tickets to somebody who had ordered tickets for the boat ride.
Yeah, I saw that too.
According to the blogger, gave them a description of the car he was in and the number plate so they could identify and pick up the tickets. Now, that's something that's floating around on social media. As I said, I have not been able to verify if it's true or not, but that's one of the bits of information floating around.
But you wonder if the authorities would, the police in this case, would even follow a lead like that and check phone records,
Well, they would have to. As part of an investigation, I would imagine that they would have to investigate all possibilities in finding his murderers or murderer. If that is something floating around as a theory, as something you would have to follow it up.
And you can't leave Twin City Mall. You can't leave or enter Twin City Mall without being on camera. There's several cameras, both state and private, in that area.
Well, there's several cameras visible. Whether the cameras are operational or not is something different.
But I'm sure Twin City Mall's cameras are.
I'm not sure.
Well, you'd like to hope. I ain't putting my head on a block for that one. Good morning, Rich.
I would have imagined the state cameras would have been operational too, but only 45% of them working. So there you go. Hi, morning,
Richard. Guys.
Hi, Richard.
Good morning, Trinidad and Vegan. Good morning to our listeners, wherever you are.
Yeah, but I would imagine that the police would also have approached Twin City Mall to see if they could get footage, as you said, Wendell. Hopefully the cameras are operational and they can see. They could get some information.
And then the vicinity of KFC and Detour and all of them, a lot of those places have cameras.
Yeah.
Well, I assume that the police already has that footage.
We assume a lot of things to the police that no service.
You can't now be about requesting it.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
In fact, from the time that the shooting, and this is not just about Kevon and his shoot and his unfortunate murder, and the tragicness of that, but any incident like that occurs in a major mall area, you have witnesses who would be able to tell you on the ground it was Nissan Tida.
Because people go into the cars, coming from the cars, and at 5 o'clock is like very, very high traffic time in that mall.
So there have been some people, so you should have immediately, in my opinion, I've had officers on the ground who's saying, well, did you get a license plate number? Because some people are quick and would look at license plate and stuff like that. And if you had air support and not drones, it means that the air support would be already in the air because there are only certain routes out of Trinity Mall. It have no big side alley to duck away from. You have to go onto Trinity Boulevard, or you have to go onto that other stretch of Trinity Boulevard, the extension that heads into heading out to the Eastern Main Road.
There are only 3 on the western side, 2 on the western side, and you have to go around in the back for the other one.
You have to go somewhere. Those are your major routes.
Yeah.
In addition to which, you are probably, if I had to guess, going to head for the highway.
Yeah.
So you it's either heading east or you're heading west.
Yeah.
So if you had air support and we were really serious about making a dent in crime, then you would already have suspects arrested and probably on the same day you'd have had people detained.
Hey, snap out of it in Trinidad. Snap out of it.
No, but I'm just that's the kind of response that
and we know, Richard, and I'm not saying this to just wantonly bash the police. You have to wonder about their processes and things that we think should be standard procedure, given the detection and solvency rates.
But we don't have air support, first of all.
So, condolences to his family, and it was really, really tragic.
Yeah. Condolences to his family and friends. I mean, it's
really, really unfortunate.
And I mean, people on TikTok, and I mean, I don't really follow, quite frankly, all of that kind of bacchanal on TikTok. But I know of Kevon, and I mean, I've seen him in certain places where I was hanging out already. He's been there. I've not had a conversation with him because I don't really know him that well. But I know of what he does on what he used to do on social media. But of course, that's not my cup of tea. So I don't really watch that algorithm will not come up on my TikTok feed. But you know of him, and you know, and of all of the bacchanal that TikTokers, but TikTokers themselves and social media people who talk and engage in a lot of social media to and fro must be concerned not just about the fact that it's Kevon, but it's a stifle to what you can say.
Yes.
Let's not look at the bigger picture.
Around every weekend that you can't just say
anything. The bigger picture is that now you have to watch what you say.
You have to watch what you say.
In terms of the threat, because you don't know who's going to take it the wrong way, and you can now be a statistic.
Because the suggestion is that somebody was highly offended, or some bodies were highly offended by what he continued to say and how he treated with other people, and took this unfortunate illegal murder action. So, so the other very vocal, very vociferous ones were very tempered or absent over the weekend after.
Well, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Gladiator, you know.
Very much so.
When I heard about it,
Gladiator was political.
Huh?
Just like Gladiator was political.
Yeah. You know? But he also didn't have a cover for his mouth, you know. So it's now it's like what? Because you're saying something to offend somebody, you could be killed for it. Well, then we could all be killed.
And you know what is going to happen, Wendell? What is probably going to happen? Just going from a historical reference. Whatever happened in Gladiator's case?
Nothing.
Was anybody ever arrested?
No, not as far as I'm aware.
So what do you think is going to happen with Kevon?
And that's why I was
high
telling
degree of probability.
Yeah,
is that what is going to happen?
That's why I asked Paul. You think that the police will be minded to really go and dig into deep and find out camera footage and get all that?
I hope so. I have to say I really hope so.
Yeah, I really hope so too. I really hope that the TTPS is becoming more and more diligent about solving these issues, because until you start solving them and your accountability and people are being held accountable for these issues, you know what is amazing about Trinidad and Tobago? This is a mall on the weekend. and a murder occurs in a mall on the weekend where you have children and families who are going to the malls.
Mhm.
And our focus was less on the place it happened, but more on who. And who is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
But it's a mall on the weekend.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
Why
but
is
more
that
than
not
that, more
why
than
is
that,
that not an
Richard,
emergency situation on the
more
part of the
than
National
and
Security Services? These
following
are
your
the
point, Richard.
families and
Yeah.
children and family units of Trinidad and Tobago in an environment where they're now under risk of gunplay. I mean, that can happen anywhere in a Trinidad and
Yeah.
Tobago context now, but it's a mall on the weekend.
Yeah.
And I have said in the past that again, these are missed opportunities by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for the divisional head to put out a statement or hold a press conference saying, we confirm this has happened. Diligent, exhaustive investigations are underway. We've put systems in place for your safety, and we will update you in 1 week or 3 days on the development that's happened, which you
Yes.
see in other jurisdictions, which puts a perspective in the public mind. The police are on this, but our police service is absent of understanding,
Mhm.
effective communication, and public relation. Just
Paul.
totally absent of it.
Paul, I want you to add to that, and also making a call for any eyewitnesses or anybody with
Or
footage
information
or
to
whatever,
contact the police.
information to come forward.
Yeah.
Add that
They
there.
they
Put that
are
there.
clearly absent of that understanding of how that helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'll tell you something, yeah. When it comes to the TDPL, let's say this individual had gotten threats. I know someone that had gotten threats, and when the legal process, go through the police, they get it sorted out. He had they called it, the telephone number showed up. The police, for what I recall, tracked the telephone number and said there's no name to that telephone number. And then they called him into the police station in Riverside Plaza, and somebody from legal came and he said that it have nothing we could do. In fact, turned it around and said his story was a hoax.
So
And that is what the TDPS and the legal department in TDPS would come out, so they won't have to do any work. And it was just dropped right there.
well, I don't think they understand. And sometimes it's extreme. This is a high profile case, but do you think he's a blogger or not? He reached a lot of people, so he might not be a VIP in the traditional sense of the word, but he was a clearly very popular person who many people followed. And as Richard said, because it happened in a crowded mall at that time with families, people with children, you want to assure the public that you are in control. And it's happened, you're investigating, and as Wendell said, if anyone has information, please, in a confidential manner, we will take your information and it will help to solve this crime. But the police, our police, they just don't. I don't know. Is Joanna actually still in charge of PR and communication for the TTPS? You're muted, Wendell.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're muted, Wendell. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know who's in charge of
if
that.
they don't understand how. If they think it's like 20 years ago when the police could operate in secret and on their own time and on their own volition, but clearly they're not learning very much from other jurisdictions. Which, if something that tragic happens, the divisional head is on television or on social media, giving people an update as to the information they have. That the systems are in place for law and order and protection are activated, and please come forward with information if you have it that will be treated as confidential. They are absent of that, and don't understand the missed opportunities over and over and over again.
Yes.
So anyway, condolences to his family. Back to the big story today, which is the nomination day. And the PNM unveiled their 141 candidates at Napa yesterday. In grand style, as the PNM is accustomed doing. I think the UNC is doing the same today in San Fernando somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. So
You mean they're doing it after the nomination process?
Yeah, this evening.
Oh, okay.
This
Yeah,
evening.
when the normal
So-
Monday night forum.
I don't know if it's on Monday. From what I read, is that they are intending to unveil their candidates this evening.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's the same format as the Monday Night Forum or if it's something on the scale that they paid them executed yesterday. But
Well,
I
that's
guess
candidates that they could scrape up between over the last few days. That is who they're looking to reveal later. Because that's what they've been attempting to do, scrape up candidates over the last few days. And I don't know if you all saw the post from another political leader of a party. Let me find that one. This says, pardon the last minute request, but we have quite a few last minute candidates to get nominated tomorrow. And each of those nominees require $2,000 as a deposit, right? I completely understand if you cannot help at all. But if you can, please contact, and there's a name and a number to organize. And again, I know it's last minute, but instead of 10 corporations, we are doing 12. And that's 24 extra candidates we weren't budgeted for. So we're trying to raise close to $48,000. Anything you can give towards that would be appreciated. And no, you don't have to give at all. But I have no choice but to reach out to everyone just in case. Thanks in advance for whatever you can manage. Best regards, a gentleman who goes by the name of Philip.
can you verify the authenticity of that?
No, it was posted. Somebody took it off a Facebook page.
Can you verify the authenticity of it?
Of course I can't.
Okay.
Just like how we would have read some other things from Facebook and whatever. You understand?
Is it on his Facebook page?
Yeah.
Did you see it on his Facebook page?
Paul, saying, why are you asking me these questions?
Well, it's a very easy to check.
I was very clear. I didn't call a name. I didn't call the phone number that's in the post. And I said it's from a gentleman who goes by the name of Philip. I didn't call any other names. I think you know me more responsible. I'm more responsible than that and have more knowledge than that. I called no second name or no last name. Good? Are we clear? Right. So, morning, double P. I now see the video. I now see the woman that I see somebody sent me a video of the woman you referred to was rejoicing.
I'm looking at Philip's Facebook page, and there's no sign of anything resembling what you just read there.
I think maybe you have to check the PP. Do they have a Facebook page? I don't know. Anyway, but did you all discuss the issue with Russia?
You're calling political party and all kind of thing. I never call political party, you know.
Well, that's the party that you're alleging
No,
that it came from.
because I could have done all that if Paul didn't take the position he take, questioning me like that. So I don't question when he read anything. I don't question his sources when he read anything.
But if it's not from an official source, then you just say it's alleged. But did we discuss the Russia issue and what took place in Russia over the weekend?
No, not yet. No.
Russia over the weekend. Somebody said
An attempted military coup d'etat.
Somebody said Biden whispering in the next person's ears.
What's that?
I saw that.
Oh, with the Wagner group? Well, that Wagner chief, and I don't even want to pronounce his name because his name is a little difficult. But
it's Russian.
Yeah?
It's Russian.
No, well, it's Prigozhin or something like that. I'm not too sure the correct pronunciation.
It's not Prince Rovani or something like that.
Prigozhin or something is how they pronounce
it. Yeah, it's a weird name.
But that Wagner chief, let's call him the Wagner chief, he has been spouting and he's been very opinionated and a lot of bluster for months now with regard to that issue with Ukraine, because they're on the forefront in terms of many of the fights in Ukraine. And he's always criticizing the defense machinery of the Russian government and saying, oh, they're not being serious, oh, they're not supplying ammunition. He's been very critical of the defense minister in Russia and stuff like that. So, I mean, and he has been openly critical, which is unusual for Russia, that they allow it. And obviously he was, Putin didn't mind him making noise because of what he was accomplishing for the Russian state. But, they always say,
until this weekend.
Well, they always say when you ride a tiger, you better know you're coming off.
when you grow the tiger yourself too.
And so he was riding that tiger and whatever he was saying and his bluster and mayhem in Ukraine, and because they are merciless in terms. Remember, a lot of his army is even prisoners, and a lot of them are mercenaries in things like that. And when he was doing whatever was required for Putin, there was no issue. But when the tiger turned back to bite you, the bite is usually ferocious. And that's what happened over the weekend. Marching on Moscow. You mean marching on Moscow, and it's like, how are Muscovites taking all of this? I haven't read any article, at least, I didn't scour for any articles, but I haven't seen any articles yet about how Muscovites were dealing with all of this issue, because Moscow is a city of what, nearly 12 million people? And it's the main city of Russia, and he was marching towards Moscow. And I was just curious in how Muscovites were dealing with this fact that they were ordered to stay at home, don't come out, and like you're in the middle of potentially a war zone, at least for that moment in time.
But are you surprised? Because since Putin started this incursion into this war on Ukraine, let me put it up, not an incursion, he has not had absolute support in Russia for this. It's been divided in terms of the Russian population and what they think about the move into Ukraine, and also following the sanctions from the rest of the world, including billionaires who have had their assets around the globe frozen or confiscated as part of the sanctions. So it is affecting people in Russia differently than it affects Putin, because he still eats caviar and beluga caviar. You understand? So the support is not absolute in Russia. So I would imagine that at some point there would be some attempt to challenge Putin during this process, which I wasn't surprised to hear it. And as you said, it usually comes, if you look at around the world, it is the one that would have.
But you weren't surprised to hear that Wagner was marching on Moscow?
Actually, no.
That's a very unusual situation, Paul.
Very unusual and
highly unusual.
Highly unusual, but because he had the support of Putin before, because it worked in Putin's favor, he would not have had the fear before this. But he must know now that, and he says whereabouts are known now, because now that the tide has turned, or he's turned the tide, he knows now that he could get some poison, allegedly.
Well, it was an agreement. Well, it was an agreement that Lukashenko, who is that Belarus leader, who is also like a mini dictator, as far as I'm concerned. And that Belarus leader is the one who negotiated and said, well, come to Belarus, and, all criminal charges against you will be dropped, which is part of the negotiated deal, and the Wagner group turned around. But they still don't know where he is. And I don't know that this story ends there.
Because he's now a target for assassination. How dare you?
Yeah, but he's not stupid either.
No,
he's made of the same cloth.
Again, dictators are overthrown by dictators.
He's made of the same cloth, and he used to be, and at one point he was a hot dog salesman. So never know from where people can rise. We've had security guards in Trinidad and Tobago sent to board of director position, so why not? Yeah. So no, but it's not the same comparison.
What is that? What unsourceable news Paul just gave there?
But you're still tooting, though. Yeah, you're still tooting, right?
It's not the same. The analogy is absolutely not the same.
I don't know. I just find sometimes you come to the strident defense of some of these SCAMPS quickly.
Yeah, continue tooting, yeah. Carry it on to 7 o'clock.
I don't toot, brother.
And then you also have this issue. Then you also have the issue of Barack Obama making a statement in an interview with Christiane Amanpour that, because she brought up the issue of illiberal democratic states, okay? And she mentioned President Modi of India. She mentioned India as being an illiberal democratic state because, of course, India is a democratic state, but President Modi certainly has dictatorial tendencies and certainly tendencies for squashing dissent. And also the issue of minorities in India.
And free speech.
Yeah, and also the issue of minorities in India. And India has always been very robust in terms of freedom of speech, but all of that has been pretty much scuttled under Modi. And so he said, until India starts dealing with the protection of minorities, the Muslim minorities and other minorities in India, it runs the risk of pulling India apart because they have to deal with it. And some of the government ministers in India are taking aim at Obama for saying that. Even though, of course, a lot of democracy advocates have been, including members of Congress, well, of course, Democratic members of Congress, asking Biden, who just had a meeting with Modi, who is in Washington, D.C., apparently, that he should raise those issues with him, the issue of minorities and their protection in India. And so those Indian ministers are now talking up and saying, it's an unfair criticism. Really?
But remember, India took a while to denounce the Russian incursion of Ukraine also.
Well, they've been kind of straddling the fence because, as I always say, and I go back to Dr. Job,
politics
states are not governed by a moral compass. They're governed by interests.
Self-interests.
Yeah.
All right, it's 14-7. You have papers?
I have the Express.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, once I tongue, I have a paper. So I have an Express. I can do Express. All right. Today is Monday, June 26th, and it's nomination day in Trinidad and Tobago. It's also City Day for the capital city of Port of Spain. And the main headline is Red Alert. PNM presents 141 local government candidates, 2 former UNC councillors to contest seats. And I took Sheldon Fish Garcia's number yesterday because I tell him we may be interested in speaking with him, so I can share it with you guys. That's on the front page, and the picture is that of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley celebrates with local government candidates at the PNM's special convention and campaign launch yesterday at Napa. There are also stories on pages 4, 5, and 8 concerning, because the PNM has put out the list also, so printed the list in today's papers of all 141 candidates. Paria makes $257 million profit. That story is on page 7, and it's a sub-headline on the front page. In the back, in sports, Warriors strike early. St. Kitts Nevis beaten 3-0 in Gold Cup opener. Carter starts bid for second CAC gold. And the picture is that of members of the Soca Warriors football team led by Alvin Jones, who celebrated after scoring a goal yesterday. Also in sports, Coffee closes with bronze for Sot and Sammy. I have a plan, and that's cricket. Of course, the West Indies would have lost over the weekend. All right, so that's the front and back of today's Express.
All right, I'll go on to the Newsday today, and the main headline: PM presents 141 LGE candidates, praises reform. Only PNM improves your lives, is the quote. Subheadlines: EMBD contractors back in court today. And the main picture is that of the Prime Minister, flanked by supporters. PNM political leader and Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley dances at the party's special convention to present its 141 local government election candidates at Napa on Sunday. So that's the main picture. On the back page of the Newsday today, TNT top of Gold Cup group after beating St. Kitts. Perfect start for Warriors. And of course, there's a picture of the Trinidad and Tobago Warriors in a happy moment. Golden Carter lower CAC 100 free record. So that's the front and the back of the Newsday. Moving on to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today. Main headline. Arm no traitor is the headline. UNC defector after being presented as PNM local government candidate. I am no traitor. So says Marcus Gadari. Rowley, we paid no one to come across. And it's the main picture of all of the candidates on stage with the Prime Minister. Rejected UNC candidate joins Duke's PDP. It's a guy called Safraz Ali. COP drops out LG election race.
Who's that? The Commissioner of Police? She was going up for elections?
I don't know. Who's COP that they're talking about?
But that was asked, is it the
Well,
Commissioner of
clearly
Police?
it's Congress of the people, but I don't know if you could drop out if you never start.
The Congress, the Congress have a person.
The Congress of the
Congress of the
person,
person.
as some say.
The Congress
How do you
of the
expect, how do you expect to be taken
No,
seriously as a
no,
political
okay.
party if you don't contest local government elections?
The Congress of the People yesterday confirmed that it will take no part in next month's local government elections. In release, COP leader Kurt Sinnett said, while we continue to seek real and lasting betterment for our country, the Congress of the People wishes to advise that in spite of having several prospective candidates and attempts at forging a true united effort, we will not be contesting the upcoming local government elections.
Several is ending over two.
So now
They had several candidates then.
So now you know. Massey Energy cooperating with Nikwan Pro. That's also on the front page. On the back page of the TNT Guardian, Soca Warriors blank Sugar Boys. Whatever that. And that's it for the three.
The other thing quickly before we go into the question and the results of the poll is that we didn't discuss earlier on the fact that a more extensive audio tape had been released over the weekend.
I was raising it, but you all didn't hear me.
Yeah, I heard that during your newscast at 6, Paul.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
I actually raised it, but you all went on with the Barack Obama story.
Well, it's difficult. Sometimes it's easy to override your raising things.
But I let you all overtalk me all the time, you know, and I hush my mouth and I chill out, you know.
You need to raise these things more vociferously. You can't let your attempts at raising things just fall flat.
It ain't gonna change. It ain't gonna change a damn thing.
You have to put a little more vigor in your.
Let's get into our morning poll. Let me give you the results of our poll from Friday. Friday, we asked you, do you believe that criminal charges will emanate from the THA's audit? That was our poll on Friday. The results are in. 86%. 86%
said no.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So the UNC senators, led by Senator Mark, have decided to stay away from today's sitting of the Senate. They're sitting today and tomorrow. I think the House sits on Wednesday. Because today's nomination day, and Senator Mark thinks that it is ill-advised, let me use that term, to hold the Senate sitting when the nomination day is today. So Senator Mark and his colleagues are not attending this evening's sitting of the Senate. So I suggest the question be something around that. Do you agree that, or do you have a problem with a Senate sitting being held on nomination day? Maybe a more neutral question.
I've never heard so much crap in my life. When I read that story,
standing orders, he said, Senator Mark said his standing orders specifically state Tuesdays at 1:30. But I have sat on every day, either 10 a.m. or 1:30 p.m., with the exception of a Sunday. I have sat on a Saturday also.
What does sitting of the Senate have to do with people going to not do?
So the question this morning, I suggest, is: do you have a problem with Senate sitting being held on nomination day? Yes or no? Is that okay with you all?
Yeah, take it, you do your thing.
I'm asking you all, unless you have a better suggestion for a question.
No, I was actually going to ask, do you expect the UNC to have 141 nominees today at the end of the day? Because the
casting vote stands with you.
Yeah? Sorry?
Raghubar Singh, you choose then.
Mhm.
I have the two questions.
I would go the nomination day question because it is nomination day.
Okay, all right. So do you have a problem with the sitting of the Senate being held on nomination day? Yes or no?
No, I meant the nomination day question of Wendell. But both are nomination day questions.
No.
Mhm.
So do you think the UNC will feel
In terms of
141
getting more
candidates?
people, in terms of getting more people to vote, I think they'll be more likely to vote on a political issue.
Do you think the UNC will feel 141
All right.
candidates? Is that the question, Wendell?
Yes, yes.
All right. Once again, our morning poll.
Do you
Do
believe
you expect
the
the
UNC?
UNC? Do you expect the UNC to field 141 candidates in today's in the nomination day of today's local election?
All right. That's our poll. 222-8255. North Americans, 868-525-1099. That's toll free. You can vote yes or no on YouTube and on our message board at power102fm.com or on our mobile app. Good morning to Marcia Rock, Ingrid Adams. Good morning, Ms. Maloney Dudu, Carol Guevara. Good morning, CJ New York,
Morning,
Sankofa.
CJ.
Good morning.
Yeah, it ties in with the headlines in today's newspapers and the discussion we would have had where the PNM has fielded 141 candidates in all districts. Do you expect the UNC to also field 141 candidates in the districts? Yes or no?
In the LGE.
Yeah, local government election. All right, Mr. Carapo, good morning to you. Yes. Wendy Ann says no.
Did Carapo say yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What says you, caller?
Good morning, Steve. My answer is no.
All right. Thank you. All right. 222-8255. Toll free. North Americans, 866-525-1099.
So you're seeing the poll right there in front of you. Once you're on any of our streaming platforms, do you believe the UNC will field 141 candidates for LGE 2023? Of course, today's nomination day, so today is do or die day. Do you believe the UNC will field 141 candidates like the PNM did for LGE 2023? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255. North Americans toll free at 866-525-1099. People on the web and the app use the messaging portals on those respective platforms, and people in other parts of the planet, you will be required to ring 1-868-222-TALK, 222-8255.
All right. Stretch says no. Trevinarima says no. Trinian Boston says good morning, guys. Rena Budu Jennings says no to the poll. All right, give us a call, 222-8255. You have 2 minutes again to vote on this poll. Do you believe the UNC will field 141 candidates for the local government elections? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm. There have been some defections from the UNC and some very public defections. It's not a good look for the party. And it's not a good look when people defect from your party. And it's just not one defection, it's been several. So I know it's something that the UNC must be battling with how to deal with from a PR point of view.
Yeah.
Junior says yes. Thank you, Junior. Ms. Maloney says no.
Morning, Ms. Maloney.
So do you believe the UNC will field 141 candidates? That's in all districts for LGE, local government elections 2023. Today's nomination day, just in case you didn't know. Of course, the PNM has fielded 141 candidates. Do you think the UNC will be able to field that 141 candidates too? That's our poll this morning.
And I don't think I've ever been to a PNM launch where all 141 candidates actually came. All came. You know, you would have had some absenteeism because maybe somebody might have been out of the country or somebody might have been not well that day. But all 141 came yesterday, bar none.
Meb says no to the poll. Cara Guevara says yes. Kenny out in Harlem says no.
Somebody hacked Carol's phone. Carol, somebody hacked your phone.
Are you commenting on somebody's vote?
No. I just said, I'm just wondering if somebody interfered somebody's phone. I learned legalese from you, Richard. I'm around too many lawyers now not to know how to do things legally.
All right. Any more votes coming in? All right. Let's get into our major news. Of course, AV is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
THA Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, Fali Augustine, takes center stage today as the THA presents its 2023-2024 budget. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley defends his government's bid to bring about local government election reform. Safraz Ali resigns his position within the constituency of Barataria San Juan and the United National Congress with immediate effect. And Russia's defense minister has been shown on state TV visiting troops fighting in Ukraine in his first appearance since Wagner mercenaries launched a mutiny over the weekend. Details in a moment. This is News to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintel-Vav. Good morning. THA Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, Fali Augustine, will take center stage today as the THA presents its 2023-2024 budget. This comes as news of another leaked audio clip purportedly involving members of the THA surfaced at the weekend. The clip, which is just over 8 minutes long, was leaked on Saturday and uploaded to various social media sites. This second clip features the voices of a man and a woman in which they could be heard discussing plans on utilizing propaganda against their political opponents, including the establishment of a commerce committee. So propagandists should be recruited and employed full-time, allegedly by the THA. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is defending his government's bid to bring about local government election reform. Speaking at the presentation of 141 candidates for the August 14th, 2023 local government election held at the Napa, Port of Spain on Sunday, Dr. Rowley said it's not just about calling the polls, but ensuring there are systems in place which will guarantee improved arrangements to provide improved services to communities across the nation. Dr. Rowley insisted there is need for the reform and expressed his confidence that the move will result in several benefits, including a revenue stream for regional corporations, maintenance of schools, and full-time counselors.
You can manage yourself better. You can take a situation where, because I have a constant revenue stream coming, which I am in control of, I can do small things, like I can keep our roads clean. I can keep our secondary roads maintained. I can do services that the government is now doing at central government. I can offer to do that. And the central government will fund it in local government.
Commenting on the candidates who will represent the People's National Movement at the August 14th local government elections, Prime Minister Rowley said that they are suitable and qualified. He said he was impressed with the qualifications of the persons seeking to represent the political party at the upcoming poll. Dr. Rowley said from among the persons showing an interest to serve the PNM and the nation are future parliamentarians, politicians, and prime ministers.
Young people like you have not seen before. What you have not seen is their qualification. I sat with them for days and nights and examined them one by one. That is the best of Trinidad and Tobago available on a PNM platform on election day in a local government election.
Meanwhile, the exodus of UNC personnel ahead of the election continues. This as the party's Barataria San Juan constituency executive member and San Juan Lavengale Corporation councillor Safraz Ali resigned his position with immediate effect. Mr. Ali served for 28 years as a supporter, councillor, and constituency executive member. In his resignation letter, Mr. Ali said the UNC is no longer the great party he joined and served, adding that he no longer remains in an entity that has lost its moorings of service to the people. The opposition, meanwhile, has indicated it will not attend Monday's sitting of Senate. This was disclosed by opposition Senator Wade Mark. The opposition senator claimed there was no consultation on this issue. It is a form of protest over the holding of the Senate sitting scheduled for June 26, which is also nomination day for the local government election. On August 14th, the local government elections will take place. Speaking at a news briefing held at the UNC's head office, Charles Street, Port of Spain, on Sunday, Senator Mark claimed in the past there has never been a sitting of the Senate on the same day as nomination day for the local government election. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. Russia's defense minister Sergei Shoigu has been shown on state TV visiting troops fighting in Ukraine in his first appearance since Wagner mercenaries launched a mutiny over the weekend. Wagner mercenary group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin had demanded Shoigu's removal and described him as evil. Prigozhin agreed to leave Russia for Belarus after calling off his troops, and his current whereabouts are unknown. The UN says the mutiny was a direct challenge to Russian President Vladimir Putin and has revealed cracks in his leadership. Well, finally, here is the weather news for the period today until midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, generally sunny day initially, despite isolated showers over a few areas. Low chance of the isolated heavy shower or thunderstorm favoring Trinidad during the afternoon. Partly cloudy to cloudy conditions by late afternoon into evening, with occasional showers over varying areas. There's a medium chance of these showers becoming heavy and or thundery overnight, especially over Tobago. Gusty winds and street or flash flooding can occur in the event of heavy showers or thunderstorms. Look out for a forecast maximum temperature of 32 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 31 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it is 26 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines to 7 o'clock, THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine to take center stage today as the THA presents its 2023-2024 budget. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley defends his government's bid to bring about local government election reform. Safraz Ali resigns his position within the constituency of Barataria San Juan and the United National Congress with immediate effect. And Russia's defense minister has been shown on state television visiting troops fighting in Ukraine in his first appearance since Wagner mercenaries launched a mutiny over the weekend. I'm Avril Sintel-Bab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for news in full again coming up at 12 noon and an update coming your way at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty, thank you so much, Avril, for our major news. We're going to join Avi again. Come at 8 o'clock for a news brief. Quickly, before we get results of our morning poll and bring in our guests, traffic-wise, if you're in the east, from Grandy Police Station to the Valencia bypass, you've got some traffic slow going through Santa Rosa, but heavy from Piarco towards Huey. All right, there is an accident westbound on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway by Trin City Lights. Okay, so take note of that. Eastern Main Road, various spots go to Arima Old Road, Takariga, Macoya. From Mount Hope towards Mova Junction, you've got some traffic. Kelly Village and taking the Southern Main Road, approaching Chin Chin Road, and after you got some traffic. Ibis Gardens towards Curap Highway, Riverhead Road, and Coover Main Road, also heavy. San Fernando, you're extremely light this morning, all right? And of course, you're going to get traffic from Monroe Road heading towards the interchange. Out of Maraval, from Mocha, out of Dago heading to Crystal Stream, you've got some traffic there. All right. That's a quick traffic update for you. All right, so let's get the results of our morning poll. I pretty much think it might be a tie. Huda Wells.
A tie. How do you tie?
I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't have the actual result. Beauty Culture says no. Good morning to Huda Wells. And let me just check. Big Guy says yes to the poll.
All right. So a question this morning is, do you believe the UNC will field 141 candidates for local government elections 2023? In the truncated time we had 9 people saying no and 4 said yes. 9 said no, 4 said yes. One of those yeses was actually Carol Guevara, who I think somebody hacked her phone. But more Carol. But 9 said no, they don't expect them to field 141 candidates. And 4 said yes. I would imagine there'd be NTA candidates and all other political parties who would have.
But our question was very specific. Our question wasn't about amalgamated presentations. Our question was specifically related to the UNC.
I agree. We focused on the UNC.
Yeah. So if the UNC, not the UNC in collaboration with anybody else.
Yeah.
Under a UNC banner.
Yeah.
So that is the question.
9 people said no and 4 said yes. Right? I would imagine the Senate, they're calling for a cessation of the Senate to poll or rescheduling of the Senate so they could go around this morning scrambling for candidates too.
Or response is required? Okay.
As you are talking to?
Oh, I didn't know that sort of question would have been posed to me. I have no information or inclination to answer such a question. None.
You're too easy to provoke sometimes, you know.
Provoke? I am not provoked at all. While we are waiting our guest, who should be the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Minister Al-Rawi.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. We could discuss a bit the extended audio tape that was released at the weekend. It seems to be an extended version of the initial tape, which Mr. Augustine basically confirmed it was him and tried to placate it and saying that it was discussed but not acted upon, as if that is supposed to make it better. To me, I'm speaking, I just think the discussion alone was disgusting enough. And not at the standard people holding that sort of office should be engaged in.
Didn't I tell you all last week that more information will come out? Especially if we have to believe Farley Augustine. Farley Augustine came to us and said that he believes it's Watson Duke who released that. Not so?
Yes.
He said that he believes it. So that's why I said, if it is in fact Watson Duke have possession of those things, expect more. And so said so done.
I don't think anyone who recorded would have recorded 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
They'd have recorded the entire meeting. And it'll be interesting to hear from the very start, even before Mr. Augustine had his presser, his press presentation, because it wasn't a press conference, you take questions, right? I said we need to wait to see what was before what we heard and what was after what we heard.
Yeah.
And anybody could come after and say, well, we didn't act on it. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. I think
contained in the initial release was the fact that it was said we already have people on board.
Right. A particular name was called in that tape.
And a particular name was called.
Right. And that person has since been employed.
Yeah. So I don't know. If we don't hear the entire exchange, anything. I can't take anything as fact or fiction.
Yeah. So he has to respond to this now. This further.
No, he won't. It's not in his interest to respond to it. Why would he? To carry it on more? Come on.
Well, I mean, they said, what does he say? They have them quotations here in an article.
I didn't hear the extended version, so I don't know.
Yeah, I heard it. It was played on. Well, I saw it on social media, Facebook. So it said the group needed to form a commerce committee.
I saw quotations from it, the commerce committee.
Yeah, a male voice says it was said the group needed to form a commerce committee, so propagandists should be recruited and employed full-time, allegedly by the THA. Strategies were even discussed on how this would be done. Even with what the political leader is doing in Trinidad, this is a quotation again, even with what the political leader is doing in Trinidad, what is required is a shaping of the narrative one way or the other. And in
No, but
many
when one of the circumstances you need to take into consideration is if this tape was recorded, some suggest as many as 2 years ago. Am I right?
Well, it can't be 2 because they're not in office as much as 2 years yet.
Well, a year ago, because some say 2 months, some say. You understand? It'll be interesting if it happened, if it was recorded before the falling out, because they said the political leader in Trinidad, and the only political leader who has purview over Trinidad is Duke.
Yeah.
Not so?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting it may have been recorded before the fallout.
Yes. Well, if Watson Duke was also part of it, it had to have been recorded while he was there.
Yeah, because that kind of conversation would not happen with Watson Duke present after the falling out.
Yeah. Yep. And maybe Mike Watson Duke may not have been in the meeting, because I can't see Watson Duke in a meeting like that and not talking. Maybe he wasn't there. Maybe he had someone tape it.
Yes, I see you've done a study of Mr. Duke's personality.
Yeah, Paul, you know Watson Duke. Watson Duke has been in that. Steve can attest to this. Watson Duke has been in our studio many times. He records everything. He goes live for everything. That's how he is. Hi, Richie.
You're talking about Watson Duke?
We're talking about the
extended
the extended audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear it, so I have no clue.
I listened to it. It's really the beginning of what we would have heard before, the start of that, and a little more after it. So it's 8 minutes long this time.
I didn't hear it, so I have no clue.
Yeah.
I
saw it, as I said, I saw it on Facebook. I haven't gotten it on WhatsApp at all, but I saw it on Facebook. I listened to it from a link on Facebook.
Does it add anything or not really?
Steve, would you care to call Khadija Amin while we're waiting for Minister Arari?
Does it add anything?
I think we have one tomorrow, but if we just get a sense
she's
of
on tomorrow for sure.
But that doesn't mean we
can't.
Get
Kirk Megu now. Why we can't get Dr. Kirk Megu? And he is the spokesman for the UNC?
Yes, he is, the PRO.
Yeah, so we should try to get him? Or we should try to get the spokesman for the NTA? Who is the spokesman for the NTA?
Harold Fabian, I do believe.
Is he? You sure?
I think so. If I'm not mistaken. Or is it, what's his name? Mr. Saran.
Timothy Timal, not so?
I don't know. I really can't say. So let me not say.
Well, ask Gary.
But that's it there.
Or maybe the spokesman is Gary.
Well,
Anybody
Gary, know what I mean? Ask Gary, who is the spokesperson for the NTA. You would know.
Well, let's just ask Gary directly if they're taking part.
Oh,
Gary is the political leader.
I'm sure they are.
But we'll find out later on today anyway, because today's nomination. Then if you don't nominate, what is it, a $2,000 deposit, Wendell?
Yes, every candidate must
which is not refundable once you get, is it 1/8 of the vote or something like that?
I'm not sure the percentage, but if you don't cross a certain percentage, you
1/8 or 1/10 of the vote, 8%, something like that. You otherwise you can get a refund if you cross a certain percentage of the vote. If not, you will not be refunded your deposit, your $2,000 deposit.
Yeah, I think almost all PNM candidates have gotten the refunds, even in areas where the UNC would have won. I believe the PNM candidates have all gotten refunds. They don't have a print that information though, somehow or the other.
Well,
yeah. You don't ever get that kind of information after the fact.
But I think you get a sense from the EBC after the final count as to what the overall vote was.
Yeah.
the winner and the other participants in terms of how many votes they got. So you can do your own calculation given what you will know the electorate is, because the EBC also prints the overall eligible voters list.
Yes. Yes.
So you could do your own calculation if you want and come up with who you think would have received refunds or not.
Yeah.
Because the information is out there, just that no one ever does the tabulation because it's almost unimportant.
And probably no one has ever asked, you know, so
Yeah.
maybe it might be a good question to ask after this election, or maybe now in the past elections, who would have forfeited the amount of people who would have had to forfeit their deposits.
Do you all think that this will be a higher than normal, not necessarily higher, but higher than normal election turnout, voting turnout?
That's a tough call for me to make.
I have no clue.
I think it'll just be the same.
I don't know. I have no clue. I
It
think people,
is a more high stakes election for many different reasons.
Yeah, it's leading up to two other elections, a THA and a general election.
I don't know how motivated the population is that either party can actually tangibly improve their lives.
Well, the reform should, if it works as envisioned, should add some sort of more efficiency. But I'm asking that in the context of one.
But Paul, I hear you, but all of that is just words to the average population.
Wait, you didn't hear what I was going to say.
The average population did not read the Legal Reform Act.
And there has not been to that.
And there has not been any promotional campaign about how this act is going to improve and transform local government.
Right. But in addition to that, why I'm suggesting it may be a little higher, and I didn't say higher, I said higher than normal, is for the PNM. It's important to have a strong showing because of what happened in Tobago. People don't necessarily, because it has the Tobago loss has been used as a political tool. There are other entities, and for the UNC, because Mrs. Prasad Bissessa has lost the last two generals, and the corporations are almost evenly split. Am I wrong, Wendell?
Sorry?
The corporations are not evenly split before this election.
Yes.
That's
it's
important for Mrs. Prasad Bissessa's leadership position going into this to secure her leadership position, because of when you look at the defections and the wrangling or the concern about whether or not the UNC can win a general election after losing two. For both major political entities, it's important.
Yes, I agree with you.
And that's why I don't think it's about the reform alone. I think it's important for both parties to have at least as good showing as they have now and not lose ground to the other major political entity leading up to 2025. And I think that's why the parties are going to try to energize their base to come out a little more than normal to secure a victory, because either way, both parties are going to use even a slight victory as a thumping rod for the other party, saying, well, look, you lost another election, or you lost Tobago and then you lost this one. You understand?
Yeah.
So either way, it's a higher stakes election than normal.
And let me tell you how high stake it is, because I saw a UNC ad on Facebook over the weekend that says, secure your future and vote and to get rid of Fitzgerald Hines. A local election, eh?
You've seen that kind of campaign.
Yeah.
And in Dr. Rowley's, I just saw parts of it from his delivery last night. It wasn't the normal local government issues, you know.
That's a fact. That's true.
It was a lot of the issues that he brought up that you would tend to think he would bring up in a national election. So he's positioning the party for 2025.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think it's as localized, or the issues have been as localized that we've seen in the past local government election. Both parties know this is a high stakes for them in terms of their performance leading in. And I think it's the basic launch of the campaign for 2025 in many ways.
Yeah. Because the PNM slogan actually is a repeat slogan, the right choice. That was a slogan that was used before. Right? In an August election also, so happens, the right choice is what the PNM is using. Reform, the right choice. So they've added reform to it, but they're reusing the right choice. You understand? In other words, if you want to see that improvement in local government, then the PNM is the right choice to make. Because the UNC clearly not interested in local government reform. They're not. You know, so
So still, let's open the phone lines. I don't know. I sent Minister Arawi a reminder and a link via WhatsApp, but I haven't seen him logged on yet. So the numbers are 222 talk, 222 8255 612 8255, toll free North America. It's 866 525 1099. We're talking local government elections. We're also talking about that tragic. Did you all deliver the poll? I was probably distracted.
Yeah, I gave the results already.
What was it again?
9-4. 9 people said they do not believe they will field all 141, and 4 said yes, they will.
Well, given the fact that Mrs. Pasabi-Sesay had issued a call for parties to come together with the UNC to fight local government elections, it suggested that they were not going to field candidates. They're not going to field candidates, UNC candidates, in areas that they formed alliances with other parties for. They're going to compete against themselves if they have actually indeed come to some sort of agreement with any other political entity.
Yeah.
And the only one that seemed potentially open to it, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, seemed to be the NTA.
Yes.
And I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but that's the only party. But there were several persons on social media, including Philip Alexander, who would love to hear an explanation from Gary Griffith if he went back into an arrangement with the UNC, given his exit from the cabinet of Mrs. Pasabi-Sesay for the reason he stated.
Yes.
So,
yes. And even after that, the UNC's refusal to support him when he became commissioner of police and all that. You understand?
Yes,
so
it'll be interesting to see if he does indeed do that.
Yeah. All right, let's take this call. Thank you for holding. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
I am dying to see that when we get to this stage in Trinidad and Tobago, when we could get a proper press conference from the TTPS, reference any situation that happens in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not speaking specifically to this Trinity Mall shooting, one of which can be handled that way, as well as a response from the TTPS, like if they're actually trying to apprehend somebody for the crime. There was no lockdown. I don't know the response of the police, how long after they got to the Trinity Mall, but there was no lockdown of the mall. There was no lockdown of the highway to see if they could detain somebody, if they could capture somebody with a gun. The response to murders in Trinidad and Tobago seems to be, all right, let me just go and pick up the shell cases and pick up the body and throw it in the van. It doesn't appear to be, there doesn't appear to be any effort to capture the murderers, right? And there's a problem for me. There doesn't appear to have any effort to actively go and look for these guns. And by that I mean Anaconda, whatever fancy name they want to give searches and seizures to areas to actively find these guns. And gun being the primary source of murder in Trinidad and Tobago, I feel like I'm not feeling confident by the efforts of the TTPS. All they seem to be doing is asking people for information to solve crime. No investigation or their own, no detective work, no nothing, and it leaves a lot to be desired. I might be wrong, but
while I hear you,
all right,
thank you. It's for me to think that the entire Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is not pursuing investigations, is not following up on some leads. Of course, there's a question mark as to how effective those efforts are, but I really can't sit and have anyone say that the police are not following up on investigations.
Yeah. We have another call. Good morning.
Or have not followed up on gun seizures because they've announced gun seizures. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Paul.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marcel, and good morning.
Morning, Ms. Davidi.
As they say, politics makes strange bedfellows. So I don't be surprised about any party want to form a coalition, and they don't want to use the word coalition, but they just want to use some kind of thing like when Ms. Kamala used partnership, which was really a partnership. Partners are treated equally. Anyways.
When, darling? When?
No, but partners supposed to be treated equally.
Or supposed to be. I know what you said
Suppose.
first. You said
Yes.
are treated equally.
Suppose.
Oh, look. So I am not surprised that the UNC cannot field the 141 candidates. Not now all the time, but they just have to pick up size. Some of them they just pick up. So if today is nomination day, how come they haven't yet chosen and screen? That's the most important word. They don't really do the screening. It's just a sham then.
Of course.
So you have to screen candidates. And today is the nomination day.
But the UNC has had screenings.
Yeah, but then they're still looking for people. So what are going about when
Well,
they
I guess the screening process continues. But you can't say the UNC hasn't screened.
Well, from what I read sometimes, they said even people from their party said they'll screen people, but not the right people, according to other people.
Well, then you may have an issue with the screening process, but you can't say they didn't screen.
Yeah. Well, all right, I'll take back that. They probably did screen, but it's screen, right? Anyway, let me leave that alone. So, so they have a problem getting the 114 because they promised the small parties. 141, sorry. They promised the small parties. Now, you see that term she used, smaller parties. She kind of making them look small because you want to.
Well, they are smaller parties. There's only 2 big parties in the country.
Yeah, but don't even use that word. Why you have to use small? See the other political parties. Don't have to use any adjective to describe all the parties.
If it's small, it's small. You ever issue with it being small? If it's small, it's small, darling.
Why are you defending UNC and Kamala Persad?
I am not defending you. Why you don't talk where you want to talk and let me talk where I want to talk?
She described them as small. In other words, she categorized them and say, "Oh, you're down there."
All right, we have a lot of calls coming through.
Right, so I find Philip Alexander I don't like, and he said he's not a small party. Of course, wasn't you always used to say that? So for her to use that adjective to describe them, they will definitely not join her because guess what? That is how she will treat them. Very small.
Exactly.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Pinal.
You know, if they continue with my plan to keep parachuting UNC people into the PNM, yeah, I mean, they're running late with it, eh? This is a plan I hatched 20 years ago, and nobody took me on. People were very adverse to it in this community here, this strong UNC community.
What is the plan? Sorry, could you repeat the plan? What is the plan?
The people into the PNM, and the PNM, you know, I see they are being accepted at a higher level now.
What does that mean, parachute UNC? I'm just asking sincerely, what does that mean?
You run straight out of the UNC into a PNM candidacy. And to me, that is breaking new ground because there was a time when the parties would treat each other as though they had some kind of, you know, leprosy at the political level. Yeah, we hear they can hand and knuckle down. And they're doing business behind closed doors. But in the public domain, you wouldn't get that. And now we see that you can get up one morning, go to your UNC screening, you don't get through, you know, you come home and take a shower, and you're the PNM candidate. So is that all it takes, a handshake and a shower, to be...
But you said, Mr. Pinal, didn't you say that was a plan you hatched 20 years ago?
Yeah, but it didn't take me on. They never take me on, but it has come to pass now. You see, I am a man ahead of my time. I am saying that if this continues for another 10 years at the rate that it is going, clearly it has picked up speed, you know, because people are more into this. This is an exponential kind of relationship here, where once you start gravitating towards each other, UNC and PNM are talking at different levels, you know. Some people may not feel that way, but what is the evidence that is coming out? The evidence is clear that the pathways between the UNC to run back and forth are well developed.
So what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on to come across?
Who knows? We'll see. But I'm saying that over time, there will be more of this happening, right? And therefore, it's like you put your cup of coffee on the counter there, and every 5 minutes pass and put 1 drop of milk in it. Which I know I don't really drink milk. But if every hour I pass and one drop of milk. After a while, I have milk in my coffee. So I'm just saying, this is how we plan to infiltrate the PNM. I'm saying in about 10 years' time.
And you sure you want to use the analogy, milk and coffee?
We would control the UNC and we would control the PNM, which is really my grand plan. It's all true.
Mr. Pinal, that is the most creative, innovative degree of spin into a concerning situation I've ever heard. That is just bad spin.
I like him, you know. I like the attempt. I like the attempt.
So that he had that plan 20 years ago and they didn't take him on, so now it's happening.
All he needed is a laugh like the Joker. Steve, you had to cue up that laugh, or Paul. How the Joker does laugh. You had to cue up that sometimes.
I wouldn't even justify that with a laugh. I think as Choops is more appropriate.
No, let me tell you something. People deal with hurt on different ways, you know, Paul. And that's his way of dealing with it.
Oh, he's hurt.
But the UNC has to be upset that people are just leaving them. It can't be good. And this last one left them though for the PP, but it can't be good. Safraz Ali said he's joining with the PEP, not the PNM. So that has to be concerning. When you leave a big party like the UNC and join the PEP, if you leave and join the PNM, well, people go say, okay, you join another big party. But when you join the PEP and the NTA and the MSJ and these are, as Mrs. Prasad Bissessa say, small parties, that has to be concerning. You're leaving a big party to go by a small party? What kind of thing is that? So I would say what Mr. Pinal said is a plan they hatch to drop milk in people's coffee.
So what are you trying to say? They don't want the coffee as black as it is?
Clearly not. Mr. Pinal ain't stupid with that analogy using. You know?
Okay.
That's why I asked him if he's sure you want to use that analogy, because it indicates that the coffee too black and you're dropping milk in it.
Yeah, so let's continue to take some of your calls. 222-8255, of course, toll free North Americans, 866-525-1099. Of course, our guest this morning was supposed to be Minister of Faris Al-Wari, but he's MIA, and I ain't talking about that.
Faris, it's waking up.
I called him too. I didn't get him as well.
Maybe the celebrations went into the late evening.
Yeah, it went in the wee hours of the morning.
The UNC was busy up and down this country calling for local elections, not so?
Mm-hmm.
And they had said they were already screening candidates, not so? So how come on the day before an election, they're not ready? How come they need a whole Senate sitting to be
Did they say they're not ready?
But hello, I just gave two instances where the UNC called people on behalf of the UNC, because I have to say that, called people who I know personally and offered them seats. One offered them a seat in St. James, and the other person was asked to get 6 nomination signatures. One of the candidates who was screened for the PNM for a seat in St. James, right, got called. He called me personally yesterday to tell me that. I said, oh. So and the person, now let me say what he said. He said the person said she is representing the UNC, but she wants him to be a candidate for the NTA in St. James. Okay, she was soliciting candidates for the NTA in St. James. So let's see what happens. He didn't take the offer, but he was how I should put it, kind enough to call me and inform me this is what is happening.
God give his people love. 222-TALK, 222-8255, 612-8255, toll free for North Americans, 525-866,
Yep.
Oh.
Good morning, Leonard Naipaul, Dilip Celeste. Good morning.
All right. Minister
Rollins,
Alrari has said he's in a car. A receptionist crazy. He's trying to get. Okay, maybe we should call him.
I tried calling him. I didn't get him. Who's this?
He's not
Gary,
answering
is it
your
right?
call.
You said Gary, correct?
I said Minister Alrari.
Alrari.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right? So I just
That's
messaged him.
coming and going all the time. Where is
Let's
he?
try a telephone call then.
I did that too.
So I just messaged him and asked him to make a telephone call because I did send him the stream, the video stream. I did indicate to him it was a video interview, but maybe he has connectivity issues while he's on the move. So I sent a message for him to take the telephone call, Steve. So maybe you can try again. And today is the Tobago House of Assembly budget will be read.
Oh yes, I saw
By
George
Secretary for Finance and Trade, THA Chief Secretary Farley Augustine. So that's also taking place, I believe, at 10 this morning. While, of course, Wendell, what's the process like today for candidates? You would have gone through this before?
Yes, you go with your, you report to the returning officer with your election agent.
Where's that?
Well, in St. James, the three candidates, 2 St. James and 1 Woodbrook, they have to go to Tripoli and Spaniard. They're doing it from Tripoli and Spaniard in St. James. Then the candidates in the east would go to Rosary, I think it's Rosary Boys, in that vicinity there, Henry Street, to do their nomination process. You must go with your election agent, and you must go with the nomination forms, of course, the letter from the party that you're representing, you check for $2,000, and the six ID cards of the people who are nominating you in the area, in the district. You must present that.
The ID cards or copies of the ID card?
Well, you have to go with the physical ID card. You must
go with the physical. Somebody will give you the ID card to go?
Yeah, and in some cases, some returning officers are asking for the actual people to be there. So,
so is there a specific process you can, an election officer can say, give me the card or give me the person? That sounds very nebulous to me for an election process.
It's the returning officer to decide if they will accept the ID card of the person. Now, you would have done a dry run last week, right? So more in the PNM's case, I tell you how the PNM would operate. The PNM would all go to the dry run and make sure that process is smooth. So today is really just a formality. But they would have done all that already. The returning officer would check the list of electors to make sure that the ID cards...
When you say there's a formality, what does that mean? Today's nomination day, so they actually have to run and register today.
Right, but the dry
one... formality?
No, but the dry one, I'm telling you how the PNM would operate. The PNM would all attend the dry run. So all the documents would have been checked. So you know that today, your documents would have already been in order. You understand?
But that's not a formality. It's an official day.
It's an official day. In other words, after today, you're not a prospective candidate anymore. You're now a candidate.
But there's not a formality.
Right. Well, it is. Because it's formalized on today. Everything that you would have done before is formalized today. Right? So I don't mean formality in that negative sense. I mean formality in the positive. You're actually formalized as a candidate today.
It's an official day.
Yeah, it is.
So and then I guess an EBC official will be there who is the election officer.
The returning officer.
The returning officer.
Yeah.
And that person documents that you have fulfilled all the requirements to be designated an official candidate.
Because today is the day you present the $2,000.
Okay.
Is it that the PNM Does the PNM give each candidate $2,000 or they pay that themselves?
Each single candidate is given it $2,000 by the PNM.
Oh, okay.
It's returned after, but each candidate, the checks come from the People's National Movement. All checks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's by check, it's not by cash.
It is by check. PNM does checks. But in an emergency, they have already indicated to candidates, if you go there and there may be a problem with the check, like a misspelling or a word, then they just bring it and they'll give you cash to go back. But because it's certified checks going out today.
Yeah. And I guess, and this process ends at what, 4 or 6 p.m.?
I think it's 4 p.m.
4 p.m. So at 4 p.m. is the cutoff point.
Yep. And if you go there and people have been known to go after, they will not accept you.
And then there'll be some sort of pre-action protocol.
And then there'll be all kind of mess. All kind of
gentlemen, let's welcome Minister Faris Alwari. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. En route to the nomination this morning of our candidates in San Fernando and had some technical difficulties in catching you.
Not a problem. And that candidate would be?
All of our candidates for the San Fernando Corporation.
Yeah, man. So
all
good
right.
morning, Minister, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning to you all. I hope you're well, and good morning to Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for the opportunity to join you this morning.
Well, thank you for being on. All right, go ahead, guys.
All right. What as the Minister of Local Government, and of course you're part of the cabinet of the country, the PNM is fielding 141 candidates today. Just give us an overview of the PNM's perspective on this election, the importance of it to the party, as we start.
Thank you. The PNM has a tradition in local elections and in general elections of fielding candidates in every seat, every election, every time. The journey to get us here, which is in part of your answer, really involves not only the adherence to history, but it also allows us an opportunity to ensure that wherever there is a person willing to vote for the PNM, regardless of what people may consider to be the normal politics of a seat, we still field a candidate. We screened several hundred persons in getting to today's marker. And I have to tell you that in the screening process, a lot of very young, patriotic, energetic people stepped up. And it caused me as a member of the screening committee a little bit of pause, because I saw for myself very willing, very capable people step forward in seats where the historical and numerical data did not look very favorable for the candidate. In others, of course, there were very excellent positions. And Dr. Rowley, in addressing the issue to the candidate and to the people, reminded us of what the history of our politics looks like. And our local government and our general election candidates got that reflection as well, that there were times in this country when every single seat was won by the People's National Movement. And that's an introduction to your answer. I'm saying that it was an exercise that was really very rewarding to notice that there was such an enthusiasm and energy to represent the People's National Movement position. For us, this election is extremely very important. It represents the third local government election, where we're talking about local government reform, but it represents the first time that reform is literally being delivered as we speak. So we're talking about a very simple campaign, almost a referendum. It's a referendum on local government. Are you for or against local government being delivered now? Are you for or against full-time councillors? Are you for or against mayors and chairmen having the powers that they didn't have before, which pretty much means that you can go to your mayor as opposed to going to your MP? Are you for or against greater control for the CUs? Are you for or against a $1 to $8 a day property tax for residences, where that money goes to your corporation, which can yield up to 70% of the monies that you did not have and that you ask for year on year? Are you for or against
Sorry, what's the main difference in the power of the mayor under this new act?
Thank you. The difference between the power of the mayor under this act is that the mayor has what looks like ministerial power. By that, I refer you to Section 85 of the Constitution. 85 of the Constitution is the section where a member of parliament who is a minister has the ability to direct a permanent secretary to carry out policy. In the current local government climate, CEOs, the chief executive officers of corporations, they have the power effectively to ignore the will and desire of the mayor. Sorry to put it as nakedly raw as that, but that is the fact. Under the new dispensation, the power of the mayor, of the full-time council acting through the mayor, is to direct the CEO in a more robust way so that the standoffs that happen between CEOs and the elected members is eliminated by that structure. And that's a huge one. Another huge impact is that it's the first time that councils are going to have the power to hire or fire and discipline their workers. So that rule of the Statutory Services Commission and the Public Services Commission is a very, very different one. Whilst they continue to exist, we are putting in a new 11th schedule to the Act so that the control and management of the working group of that labor force is much more proximate with consequences, which means that you ought to see a better result. Those are the two perhaps main factors. The third one is in the number of committees that are created and chaired. These are full standing committees. And of course, with greater revenue coming from the property tax, it means that you have a much more structured position. Perhaps I can end the answer by pointing you to the THA. Many people in Trinidad are very aware of how dominant the role of the chief secretary is and how important the chief secretary is. That is going to be the equivalent of what the mayor looks like now.
From the Burgess' perspective, Minister, because this has been a cause for concern, and you know that I sat on the committee, yourself contributed significantly. Councillors have been at the forefront of services and interfacing with the Burgesses. Now, councillors in many instances are full-time. What should the Burgesses expect now differently from councillors in terms of the service they provide and the access to the Burgesses?
Well, you can expect that your councillors will have not only greater autonomy for the first time, meaning power to carry out what you wish, but a greater access to a pot of money. Because I can give you an example. The Tunapuna Piarco Regional Corporation, on average per year, asks for about $101 million in recurrent expenditure and revenue for their PSIP. They may get $8 million on average. In fact, the statistical information over the last few years is that they got 8 million, 11 million, and under my hand, 44 million, largely because that 44 million was something I was able to break up into how it could be expended, and we had changed the manner in which we were spending under reform. Now, if you apply property taxes to that corporation's property tax is estimated to yield $65 million in property taxes. So if you take the 44 million and 65 million, you meet what they actually requested and have a pot available for the first time in the history of local government. And that is tied into your question. What can they expect? They can expect better delivery because there's actually revenue backing the equation and there's an ability to perform it. Now, the beautiful thing about this is the first time that the government will be returning the 1957 type of arrangement. In 1957, we had the Exchequer and Audit Act, which centralized government expenditure and spending into the Minister of Finance. This local government reform package actually returns us to giving local government revenue and authority under a very important new tool, which has been turned on, as difficult as it is, and that's the public procurement law. In the public procurement law, you no longer have the Central Tenders Board at work. Every public body and every municipal corporation as a public body has the authority to contract and to procure. And that has been taken away from central government and put in the hands of the public body. The problem that was missing was the revenue and the control over the employee and workforce. So this is not a unilateral, oh, please vote for this new law conversation. This is a conversation with the good people of Trinidad saying, listen, we've got the public procurement law, it's on. We have a greater source of revenue. Here it is in front of you. Don't be frightened by it. It's $1 a day. It's $3 a day in revenue being put in by way of property taxes. Here is a mechanism to control employees, manage your workforce. Here's a mechanism to make sure that your CEO is not a renegade CEO. Here is a standing committee that allows for transparency in your expenditure and for accountability. For the first time, we have things that look like you see on television, where in an American movie, you'll have a town hall meeting and then have the residents saying, no, we want this, or we don't want this, or we want this. Those are features included in the law. So this is a very different construct. And it's a very clear scenario. The PNM says, we want this law. Here it is in its particularity. It's been passed. The task to implement and operationalize the law has been given to me, Faris Al-Rawi. And the UNC says, no, they don't want it, etc. If you want to get a big issue, crime and security, because that is a very large issue in our country. In this local government reform, by feeding the structures into it, we are therefore allowed to have a better performing municipal police arrangement. So we don't need to look to the opposition's recommendation of comfort police. Why not use the comfort patrols? Comfort patrols using hired security is very different from people with police powers under Section 43 of the law. And having a greater municipality of police is therefore a more immediate and powerful recommendation on the issue of crime and security.
Minister Ari, do you expect there to be some challenges in terms of teething process transitioning to this new system of local government, given the fact that the government had expected to at least have until the end of the year to put our systems in place to execute this properly? But of course, the Privy Council ruling came and the government had to act based on that and call local government earlier than I guess they would have expected. And now a significant transformation is to take place, but in a much shorter time.
That's correct. So there is an issue of timing, and we will just have to work around it. The fact is, the election is afoot. We had anticipated an election by December. The Privy Council did come back and say to us, look, that 4-year term, we are going to interpret it as applying henceforth, i.e. for every other election than this one, because we're going to say that the incumbents were there for 3 years. No problems. That's the highest court of our land. We abide by the law. But yes, we do have operational issues to sort out. And a lot of it is going to depend upon the will of the majority as expressed in the election. This is why for us, we believe that this election is a very important one for the people who we propose that this law works for, because it's the voice that is going to be represented by the results. It's going to allow us the legislative, the legislative moral authority, if I could put those two terms together, to go back to the parliament and make the amendments that we will need to sort this out, because there will be some legislative amendments that we'll have to adjust in light of the Privy Council ruling.
I'm listening to you, Minister, and I sometimes wonder if the UNC is even aware that even with the corporations that they are in charge of, and they probably will always be in charge of, that they carry the same authority, and they will be able to do a lot more for the people in those areas.
Wendell, what's shockingly true about what you've just said is that, number one, that's what many of the UNC councillors tell us quietly. Some have taken it upon themselves to say it publicly. If I look at the conversation from Marcus Gidari, that is the reason why Mr. Gidari said, look, I, on a policy perspective, support the PNM, because I can find no reason to go to the people of San Fernando, in his case, Marabella South, and tell them that this property arrangement, that these reforms in local government is not in their best interest.
Yeah.
And it is the first time the government is actually doing something which is quite remarkable. It is saying to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we will take away the power from government, from central government, in the hands of the Minister of Finance and in the hands of the Minister of Local Government. And we're going to give it to the corporation, whether we are a central government dealing with a UNC corporation or a PNM corporation. So it defies logic. And that is the thing that just causes me deep concern, because the UNC's position is that it is adamant that it will not support local government reform.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about accountability issues in the corporations? It's been identified in several debates about the lack of audited financials. I know you had made a presentation about the changes related to the Auditor General's rule, and I think if I'm not, my memory is not misfiring, you said that the changes in that office would lead to more timely financial audited statements and more accountability. Now that these corporations, regional bodies, will now be collecting and expending much more, hopefully on behalf of their businesses.
Absolutely, I'm concerned, but I'm absolutely clear that I have a very definite answer to that. You see, it's one thing for us to stand up and repeatedly point out what has been the reoccurring decimal. Your audited financials are late, your management reports come 10 years later, and those issues, therefore, you've missed the bus. What's the point of presenting a report from 2002 in 2015? Makes no sense. The Auditor General, in its undercapacity, has not been able to produce the audited financials. So again, the Auditor General misses the bus. What do we propose? What will be different? Number one, under the local government reform package, you will have the power and the obligation, first of all, the obligation to produce your audited financials, your management accounts, every year on time. How do you get it done? You get it done by the council having the power by way of resolution to hire an auditing company, one of the transparent auditing, large auditing companies or whichever, a respected audited company using IFRS standards, and they produce those reports. But more than that, Paul, we have turned on the public procurement law. Now, I want to say something now. The public procurement law has its own complications in that it is so transparent that it has the potential, if not real consequence, of slowing down expenditure. Jamaica's experience with their contractor general is that the use of their law has slowed their economy by 30 to 35%. In the public procurement law, every cent of public money, that is public sector investment program money, development program money, recurrent expenditure money, and IDF, the development fund money, every cent of money is passing through the public procurement law.
Well, not every cent. There are some sectors that are exempt,
such as legal fees and
exactly.
government expenditure. Those are the only two sectors, Paul.
Well, exactly. So it's not every cent. Those two are prominent.
Every cent passes through the public procurement law. Those three sectors are diverted into a different method of transparency. It's not as if there's no transparency.
I didn't say that.
No, but I was making the point that every cent passes through the law. You correctly interjected to say not every cent. I then identified the three flows where they do not pass. And now I'm carrying that further by saying those three flows are also equally with a method of transparency. So I'm not worried about that because it's not as if there's a blind eye to it. Far be it the case. There's still value for money considerations, etc. All that happens in those three areas is that a different formula applies, not that it is exempt from scrutiny. And that certainly falls under the audited financial statements. The Freedom of Information Act still applies. As you know, as Attorney General, I delivered value for money statements and transparency. I laid in the parliament every single person who received a brief from the state, the extent of monies that they received, the number of matters that were received, and then I went on to demonstrate the value for money return, the billions that were returned as a result of the expenditure of millions of dollars. So I accept that there's a different method of treatment. But this is an answer to your question, whether I'm concerned about the transparency. I said, yes, I am. I then pointed to the methods by which we can track that. And I'm flagging now that the data from the utilization of the Public Procurement Act will show us what, if anything, that law produces, how it affects our economy. And we're going to know as soon as the next budget. Because if monies are not spent because you could not engage in procurement by September 21st, you have to return the money to central government. So we're going to know what the effect of a 10-day standstill period is. The data so far, the raw data demonstrates that the Public Procurement Act means that a road that you could have undertaken in repair within 7 days will probably take you 99 days to get done now, by the time you observe standstill periods, advertising periods, etc., etc. So there's a very different formula attached to law right now. But in summary, what I'm saying, if I step out of the wood, if I step out of the weeds, if I step out of the bush, I'm saying this. This is a very different package of law. It's no longer we're proposing something, we're saying it's here. We're saying...
The PNM launched its 141 candidates in grand style, as it usually does last evening, contesting all 141 opportunities. And you mentioned earlier on it's an important election. Is the PNM considered more important than past local government elections in the context that, well, it's also a signal as to the mandate given to the PNM in the general in 2020, moving to 2025? And do you expect a higher turnout for voters?
Those are about 5 questions in one. Each one.
You know I operate.
Each one equally important. So thank you for those questions, Paul. Yes, I think it's a very different election. It's the first time we've had an election of this nature. Perhaps if you know your legislative history, I think around the 1990 period, it was an extremely important election. It was the first time we were dealing with the Municipal Corporations Act, which was then slightly amended and became operational in 1992. So that 1990 election was perhaps very important. Equally important now, but I think now that the system is so radically different that I think that this represents legislatively the most important issue on a table at an election period. Local government elections are traditionally not ones that bring out high voter turnout. You're looking at usually a low voter turnout. We have yet to see whether the importance of this issue may produce more people coming out or not. But what I do accept is that most people don't traditionally pay attention to local government. That is a bad thing in many senses because it means that your result may be skewed in terms of position. Do elections stand as a dipstick and a poll for the sentiment towards general elections? Yes, they do, obviously. This is the closest thing that you'll get to a midterm poll and a dipstick. So yes, eyes will be on the elections. And are we in a different era? Yes, we are. I mean, a lot of people have different attention spans. For the average person, you have to fight the genuine issue. Well, why should I care? Why should I bother to participate in the electoral process? Many people feel alienated from politics. And they therefore become jaundiced or cynical towards it. And I accept that. That's a par for the course, and it's a form of our reality. What this will do over time, however, going forward, whatever the result will be, is that it will demonstrate to people that, there are a few important things. Paul, I'm sure you remember when I was piloting the amendments to deal with motor vehicle and road traffic and introducing demerit points. Most people said this would have no impact. It turned out to have a significant impact on culture. The same thing when we were piloting the criminal division and the creation of courts and the use of virtual courts. I remember a member of the opposition in the UNC bench stood up and told me, Attorney General, this law will make no difference. Nobody will use electronic filing. Nobody will go to court virtually. That's now par for the course. That's standard. Prisoners are no longer transported every single day from jail to court and back in justice on time. So there are moments in time where legislative impact does have a consequence. I think this is going to be one of them. And I think that the consequences are going to be very proximate. We're going to see the results soon enough.
Speaking of piloting, your close colleague, Senator Mark, has indicated that I think you are due to pilot the anti-doping amendment this afternoon, if I'm not mistaken.
The Minister of Sport will pilot that.
Oh, the Minister of Sport, I'm sorry. And Senator Mark has indicated that he and his UNC colleagues in the Senate will not be attending because the Senate sitting should not have been held on nomination. Your response to that?
Senator Mark is what you call a one-trick pony. So I think the concept of multitasking for him, I think it's time Senator Mark took a little rest. Maybe he needs, to enjoy his retirement. If a person like Senator Mark with the experience that he has, and it's always a joy to see him in action, right? If he could only do one thing at a time, well, God help him. This country has to move on. The need for piloting the law today is because we have the Youth Commonwealth Games, and the World Anti-Doping Agency has told the country, you have to do this. What's actually quite interesting is that when I was in the Senate in 2013 and I contributed to the then anti-doping law piloted by Anil Roberts, I warned of certain issues in law, which turned out to be 100% correct, and which resulted in the World Anti-Doping Agency coming back to Trinidad in 2021 to say, listen, you all got to go and fix this thing. It is not the way it ought to be. And because of the pandemic, it took them a while to do the reviews, and they only did their reviews in June of this year, i.e. this month. So if we were to take the world in Wade Mark time, we would do absolutely nothing, because Senator Mark is just on a mission to make sure the government does nothing, so he can then complain about it.
Well, I remember last local elections, he was championing the cause of the UNC in Port of Spain. He was their main campaign manager. So he was actually there at the nomination morning. So maybe he wants to just be present to ensure that the UNC could scramble up some people at the last minute.
Well, I'm on my way, as are my colleagues. All Senator Hussein will be there, etc. We just have to do the work. We're not allowed. When the people of this country gave us the mandate to do what we're doing currently, they didn't expect us to come with excuses to say, well, I could only do one thing at a time. It may be difficult, it may be stretching, but you just got to step up and do the work.
Yeah, and I would imagine by the time the Senate sits anyway, that most people would be nominated. Most people would have gone through the process.
Yeah, God willing.
Yes. Minister, in closing, for the entire population, now I know you're a member of the PNM, but why should the electorate come out and vote on August 14th, whomever they decide to vote for?
Well, I do believe in the power of exercising franchise, meaning the power of voting. I say that being a child of two countries. My dad is Iraqi, as people know, or some people may know. My mom is very much Trini, and both ends of my family have always grown us up, our entire family, with the understanding of what the power to vote is. It became very apparent to me in watching the politics of the Middle East, what a privilege it is to vote, because I've seen people die for the right to vote, something which in Trinidad we take as a blasé sort of issue. Yeah, it's politics. Well, no, there are some people that take their politics and their rights in a very different way. So as a person, I stand behind the right to vote, whomever you vote for. I believe politicians need to work hard to convince you that their point of view is worth supporting. I am not a fan of tribalism, or we're doing it so just because we used to do it so. I, as a politician, have to work hard to hope that my point of view is convincing. So that's a personal view. In terms of the broader philosophical answers, I think this is an important issue for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because it matters to us the people. What do we believe in? Do we want more resources behind local government? Do we want to end excuse making? Well, I didn't get enough money this year, and I don't have the power, and I'm a part-time counselor, so I'll catch you when I'm not working. I'll come back to you. Workers, all of those are issues on the table now. Are you for or against a better life? We are able to identify the items that take us to what we believe will be a better place for people, giving away power from central government, handing it back to local government, etc. We're saying, see a councillor and give your councillor more authority equivalent to what a minister looks like, so you can get more help faster, closer to where you are.
Minister, I also would like to, I know a lot of people that may not have known about your parentage, but also that your first foray was actually as an alderman in the city of Port of Spain in local government. And I felt proud to have served with you then.
Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in local government. It really is a joy to be in the ministry that I'm in right now. The truth is that the Municipal Corporations Act and in the reform that I'm implementing, I'm actually implementing almost all the 650 laws that I passed as Attorney General. And it really is a universe in and of itself, but it's a very real one, because you cannot arrive at a man's house and just tell him, well, boy, check me next year and I hope I get some money to fix your thing,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the days for that have to disappear.
Can I end with a controversial question?
Sure.
Will you endorse Wendell Stephen for the next mayor of Port of Spain?
Oh, no, Paul, you can't ask the minister that.
He'd make an excellent mayor.
Minister, don't
will you
answer
endorse him as the next mayor is the question.
I have no locus in that choice. The choice would be on.
But if you could, would you endorse him?
Minister, don't answer that.
Foul party must know the place.
Have a good day, Minister Alawi. Thank you for chatting with us. Be safe on the road.
Blessings to you all. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
All right. Take care. My goodness, Paul Richards.
All right. News is next.